Namaste and welcome to our show, Festival of Bharat. Today I have with me a very special guest, Sriguru Rohit Arya ji. Just to give a little background about Sriguru, he's a yogi, author, and polymath, being a spiritual mentor, a writer, a mythologist, and a vibrant speaker. He's the author of the first book on Vastu to be published in the West, which was then translated into 5 European languages and Hebrew as well. He is the author of the first book on tarot to be published in India. He co-authored a book on mini yajna called Sacred Flames and is the creator of the Sacred India Tarot 82 card deck and book based on Hindu epics and Puranas. He was the editor of the Leadership Review and also on the advisory panel of indiayogi.com, the first spiritual portal in the country. He was the director of ProFactor, a leadership and change facilitation corporate training outfit. He has been an arts critic and a socio-cultural commentator for over 2 decades. Sri Guru is also a lineage master in the 8 spiritual breath system of yoga. He founded the Arya Yoga Sangha in 2012 and leads multiple meditation circles every week. Sri Guru, thank you so much for being on our show.
Thank you so much for inviting me. Om Shiva Chidambaram. Namaste to all. I'm so pleased and proud to be on Citti Media because I watch regularly and now I am part of the crowd who appears on it. So I feel very honored by that.
Oh,
So
thank you so
please
much.
fire away. Yeah, please fire away.
We're especially happy to have you on our show because apart from being a spiritual, mentor, you also speak very knowledgeably and with great fervor on various matters, which are Indic, of course, but are certain, certain precepts, certain concepts, also, happenings which are, things which are current and topical in the country and around the world, which is a rare gift. Not all spiritual masters are, that way connected to what's happening around us. So we're very happy to have you, and hopefully, and I'm sure we will have a very engaging, next 1 hour talking on several issues.
Well, that's because I'm a devotee of Sri Aurobindo. And the most important thing he said is all life is yoga. There is no aspect of human existence which cannot be brought into yoga. So instead of renouncing everything, we try to
Right.
divinize everything. His goal was to divinize the whole of existence, that all aspects of life and all spheres of life must be brought into a yogic perspective and into a higher consciousness. Instead of that is ichichi, that is beneath us, that is, that attitude
True.
has not served us well. It has not served Hindu society well. We have uh, we have many problems. We have many issues. There is a Hindu awakening. It is partial. It is not in any ways complete. Um, I'll say something which people may find controversial, but I'll say it anyways because I never mince my words or tailor them to the audience. I say what I think is true, and if I think I'm wrong later, I accept that also. So I'll say it. Hindu society is in the worst condition since the days of Aurangzeb.
Wow.
And I could give you many examples of that, but fortunately, somebody who's far smarter than me has already done it. I'm referring to Dr. Anand Ranganathan, and he has written a new book, which is also
Right.
fortunately a bestseller, The Hindus of Hindu Rashtra, where he has given 8 reasons why we are not second or third class citizens of the country, of the Republic of Bharat, or the Republic of India rather, but
Yeah.
8th class citizens, where the sort of legal discrimination
Yes.
codified into law, the sort of prejudice and hatred that is demonstrated against us. You must understand that there is another concept that I would like everybody to understand because it would explain a lot of the hatred that comes towards Hindus. The British came in, and it was a society which had 95% literacy across all castes and all communities. And they destroyed that and made us a nation of
True.
fundamentally illiterate people. it was a fundamentally horrific thing that was done to the education system, and it was done deliberately. Even the Mughals, for all their
True.
atrocities, never did that. So what we have here is a concept. It is a slightly difficult concept that is not catching on. I don't know why, but there is a concept in sociology called characterological evil. American scientist Shelby Steele, who's a sociologist, he's a black person, black professor. He had, I think, coined it or popularized it. Other than him and Jordan Peterson and me, I don't see anybody use it. And what a characterological evil means is something is bad because it exists. And the liberal arts and the liberal media and the so-called liberals have now come to a consensus that Hinduism is a
Because it exists.
characterological evil
True.
because it exists. Therefore, anything which demolishes, diminishes, demeans, or completely destroys Hinduism
Good.
is
True.
automatically good. And you need to understand this is the source. This belief is the source. This belief is the complete and utter source that Hinduism is a characterological evil. And this has been pumped in for 200 years. This hatred of Hinduism, this hatred of Hindu wisdom has been pumped into the educational system for 200 years until today. You see a lot of Hindus also accepting that, the permanent reform project is happening. I call it the deform project, like nothing is correct about Hinduism. Everything has to be permanently reformed. Yeah. So I would like the word tradition to become far more important than the word reform. In fact, I want the word reform to become a word that people mock and laugh, like they mock and laugh at the word secularism. The minute you hear that somebody is a reformer, you should start laughing. You should start sneering at that. Because it is nothing but an attack mechanism on Hinduism. Let me assure you of that. These so-called reformist mindsets are nothing but, again, because their belief system, you must understand, this is ideological madness. They are possessed by this idea of characterological evil.
Is that Christian? It's somehow Christian backed? Is it backed by Christianity?
Yes, it is.
Exactly.
The original sin concept, where you have original sin, and unless you accept one particular person as your savior and get dunked in water,
Correct.
you won't be saved. Like so.
And
हम भी
yet
पानी में
dunking of
जाते हैं,
water is
गंगा स्नान
probably
करते हैं
borrowed
ना.
from us, right? I mean, that's also no.
No, that is an ancient ablution, as it is called, is an ancient spiritual practice across cultures. They don't have anything original here. They took
That's right.
everything from the pagan cultures anyways. So of course they will take whatever, and then they'll pretend they discovered it. Like they now some of them are reluctantly admitting that calculus was invented in India, that Indian scientists had formulated gravity before Newton, and
The
things like
recent
that.
news item
So
also that
the
finally
truth
they've
cannot.
accepted that it wasn't Newton and it was actually an Indian.
Yes, absolutely, because the evidence is there, no. And the great thing about the scientific process is, in the end, it wins. In the end, fact and evidence will win. But you see, there is this whole madness going on currently in the West, which madness has also come on to us, with facts and evidence, reason, logic, science, mathematics. These are all white people. Now it's very difficult for us to resist that, because we have suffered under colonialism, two types of colonialism. So for us, any argument that argues against colonizers is a plausible argument, is a very persuasive argument, but we do not need to follow the crowd in these matters. We can make up our own mind. So this problem that Hindus don't realize why they are attacked like this seems to puzzle us, but we don't realize that they believe that our very
And
existence
that
is
brings
wrong.
me to this question about, there's a trend among what you're just saying, and adding to that is this self-loathing that Hindus have, at least modern day Hindus have. There's a self-loathing. They've been
Because because the educational system has convinced them
Absolutely.
that we are a
And so
characterological
therefore,
evil. No, let me say something. The leftists have weaponized the respect that Hindus have for teachers to corrupt our youngsters. The leftists have taken the prestige and automatic respect according to teachers and used that to corrupt our youngsters. The liberal arts department in any university today is just an attack mechanism on Hinduism. And we need to realize something, that these people are not worthy of respect. They are not gurus. Guru is a spiritual mentor. They have hijacked the respect given to gurus and applied it to themselves. And we need to realize one more thing, that all these professors are morally depraved people. And I'm using that word with complete awareness of what I'm saying. They are morally depraved people peddling identity politics, and identity politics always ends in genocide. There has never been a country where identity politics became central, where genocide
yes,
did not happen down the line. So this is a very, very, very dangerous development. And unfortunately, we are a sort of ahistorical people. History is taught in a boring way. We don't seem to understand that
yes,
there are certain trends. In the Roman Empire, when it just took 60 years, one lifetime, from being a pagan dominant empire to being a Christian dominant empire. It happened in 60 years. We don't realize how fast collapse can come. In my lifetime, I saw the Soviet Union collapse, so I know how fast it can happen. People don't realize the kind of imminent danger we are in, and most of all, we don't realize that all our institutions have been subverted. So we have the very unique situation. The Hindus are winning the electoral battle and completely losing the
very,
social
very, very
battle.
strong observation.
The perceptual, yeah, the perceptually we are all over the world. If you think of Hinduism, what casteism,
Caste
sati,
cow curry.
and then that propagate, yeah, caste
Yeah.
cow, sati, and then that fake
Yes,
narrative
yes.
about rapes happening. And we have just been demonized, and we don't understand what is going on because we are not interested. It's very nice that we are so STEM oriented. That's very nice. But liberal arts पकड़ना पड़ता है because bluntly politics is downstream from culture. The culture determines where the politics goes. The culture determines where what decisions will be made, what values will be. And we have conceded the cultural space. To the Marxists.
Oh, yeah.
And they are all Marxists. It does not matter what religion they profess or anything. It is essentially Marxism. And we have conceded. Of course, now there is little pushback. Now there is little, but the right is always conservative in terms of preserving, and the left always will be organically more creative. So there is a psychological problem there. But we cannot concede culture to them. And we have conceded culture. So that is why I get into all these things. Do you think that I don't have better things to do with my time? I could spend more time teaching yoga. I could speak about various forms of Shiva. Those are all the things that interest me. But I force myself to enter into these matters, raise awareness, speak on these issues, because this whole problem, when will
Absolutely.
it go away?
But we need more people like you to speak
This
openly on
kind
these
of,
issues as
that is the other problem. I don't want to say anything about this, but that is the other problem, that Hindu religious leaders have by and large failed the society, have failed the Hindu society. They have not spoken up in defense of our culture and our values. I'm not saying all of them, but a significant majority of them have let the side down. And it pains me very, very deeply to say this, because this was
well.
not
True.
how our gurus used to be. But our gurus are under such pressure from basically adharmic sort of government setup. We actually translated secularism as dharma nirapakshata. If you are neutral towards dharma, you are an asura. Yeah? क्या निरपक्ष है? Dharma nirapaksh.
Nirpaksh.
How can you
Yes.
be nirapaksh towards dharma? And this is the mindset. It just is so revealing, because you cannot help revealing yourself when you And our gurus, unfortunately, by and large, did not push back against the demonization of Hindu culture. I think it was Dr. Conrad Els, who said that if there are 100 people in a room, 99 of them are Hindu and one is not Hindu, the 99 will spend all their time trying to make that other
Oh, yes.
person comfortable.
Absolutely.
You know,
Spot
yeah,
on. It's so
yeah,
hardwired in our
yeah,
DNA
and
that we always.
yeah. No, I don't believe it's hardwired in our DNA. I believe
Hmm.
it is a learned behavior, because I used to be like that and now I'm not like that. I do not wish to make you uncomfortable. I do not wish to win your approval. I do not wish to be liked by you. I would be alarmed if you liked me or approved of me. Quite disheartened also. I want you to find me. I want you to find me disconcerting. I want you to find me an exception to the Hindu norm. There's something, I'll tell you, there's something that Swamiji, one of the Swamis I respect, he made a small little note on the behavior expected of Hindus, which I think is worth reading out.
Yes.
So I'll just read that out. Yeah, please give me a moment. Yeah, okay. Right. So this is Swami Prakashanendra Saraswati. He is actually a Vedanta
In
teacher.
or of the Dayanand
He's
Saraswati
actually,
order,
yeah. Saraswati matlab
Arsha
one of
Vidyas.
the this thing, no? So he's actually but he also feels compelled to come in. So this is what he has said, and please read. These are not my words, these are Swamiji's words. And he just made this post a few days back. I thought it was extraordinary. And he said, Hindus have learned somehow at some point that practicing Hinduism or even claiming to be Hindu is communalism and chauvinism, which only means hurting others. We have to subdue Hindu practices or even deny Hindu identity, but at the same time praise and encourage other religions to practice theirs. Never criticize even a smallest mistake in them. That is true secularism. This keeps communal harmony in India and keeps India united. We should subdue ourselves of being majority and don't even mention Hinduism, which threatens the very identity of others and make them feel insecure. It is our duty to make others feel insecure. If others feel secure, if they are rude, aggressive, and take to terrorism, we are at fault for making them insecure. We have to repeatedly assert that Hinduism means respecting other religions. This is how we have been taught directly, indirectly, by implication, by precedences, by citing our Mahatmas and leaders, our Gurus and Shastras. This is ingrained into us. Instead of this, we should have studied their dogmas and theologies like iconoclasm, supremacy of their own religion, hatred for other religions, heresy, blasphemy, kafir, infidel, dhimmi, double standard in ethics, brutal punishment to unbelievers, etc. We should have engaged them in talks to change these uncivilized ideas. I bow down in respect to him because I find he is one of the few
So
people who's
outspoken.
Swami
Yes.
who has the courage to say this. Yeah, courage to say this. Now, I say things like that also. But when it comes from a Swami, there is weight of tradition behind it. I'm not a traditionalist, even though I'm a great supporter of tradition. I'm integral yoga, which must be, as one of my friends,
Yes.
Raishi Nandi, he's very popular now. Yeah, he said it must be the smallest sampradaya of Hinduism. So I am part of the integral yoga tradition of Sri Aurobindo, and I'm
So
trying to
Sri,
develop
I
that.
would like to.
But what he
Yes.
has said is a
I want to rein in the
summation.
conversation a
It
little
is
bit
just a
and direct
summation.
towards specific things which I
Yeah,
think would I think our
please
viewers
tell
would
me.
benefit from, because I need you to weigh in on these
Yeah.
things. For example, you know, this
Mm.
issue of you were speaking of, and the moral depravity that has come about among Hindus, but specifically among the ones who call themselves modern or progressive Hindus, right? The urban Hindus who say they're spiritual but not religious, right? And the ones who
Oh
say that
God.
rituals are
Yeah, yeah.
absolutely unnecessary, rituals are a waste of time. So,
Okay. Okay. Two issues here. First, we'll deal with the
yes,
spiritual but not religious.
no rituals,
Then
yeah.
we'll deal with the ritual. So, yeah. So, spiritual but not religious is like saying I believe in pregnancy, but I don't believe in sex. Like it is, or as or it is saying I want the fruits,
Roots,
but I
wow.
don't want the roots. Yeah, I want the end product of a spiritual practice. I want the end product of a ritual practice. I want the end product of what a religion identified. But I don't want the religion. I don't want the practices. Again, because
Correct.
why? Characterological evil. So they are trying to harvest fruits while destroying the roots. This is stupidity, and worse than stupidity, it is impossible arrogance. And such arrogance is always punished by nature. So they want they want the benefits of a culture without
Yes.
accepting the culture. Yeah, our culture, that is the Indic culture, the Bharatiya culture, whether Hinduism, Buddhism, Jainism, we designed methodologies from our innate psychology, from our innate Bharatiyaness, which liberate people, which put an end to karma and liberate people. That
Yes.
has happened only in India. Let me be very blunt about it. It has not happened anywhere else. And it happened because of the culture. It happened because of the religions of India. Because that is not possible unless you accept karma. Karma is
Correct.
India's great contribution to the world. And all our religions take karma for granted. It is just the bedrock. And that is the fundamental difference between India and the rest of the
Yes.
world, and India and all other religions, karma. So these people are trying to evade the karmic consequences of what they are doing. And this is an utterly superficial and utterly low IQ argument. That I am spiritual but not religious. What does that mean? It's a literally nonsensical sentence like furious green ideas sleep. What does it mean? Furious green ideas sleep.
Sounds fancy.
Doesn't mean anything. Yeah. So this notion that you can get fruits without roots is something that is innately asuric and destructive. And it is the product of an asuric education which has convinced them to be ashamed of their culture, to be ashamed of their traditions, to be ashamed of their, so there is no vaccine as such for it. By the time they start saying these things, it is already too late. You need
Yes.
to get them young. You need to teach them young. There is a question I ask nowadays, because now I'm old and I'm becoming more cranky. So there is a question I ask people just to get them riled up. I ask them, why is it better to be a Hindu than any other? And they have no answer. And I'm like, you don't know who you are. What are you going to transmit to your children? You have no idea why it is good to be in your faith than in some other faith. What are you going to transmit to your children? And then they come home with purple hair and piercings and tattoos, and accuse you of being a casteist and a chauvinist and all the other
Defenseless.
stuff,
You
and you
can't.
have no
Yeah.
answer. Yeah, and tell me something. Why does it take only one semester in a liberal
Two.
course, one
Yes.
semester, not even the full year, for the purple hair and the piercings and the woke ideology to? I mean, how shallow is our cultural norms at the moment, that they are so easily subverted? Then I see reels on Instagram and Facebook, and I'm like, okay, sanskar yahi hai, hota hai,
Oh
to
my. Instagram
the
is
kind
is
of reels.
is. I mean, if you
Yeah,
want to be, if you want to
yeah.
be
I mean,
depressed,
I'm like,
if you seek
this is
depression, Instagram
sanskar.
is the
These are
place for
sanskar.
you.
So that is about the spiritual but not religious, which, like I say, is a low IQ argument. It is a absolutely duffer wala argument. It makes no sense, but it is an argument that is deliberately sent out into consciousness so that
Yes.
religions are weakened, so
Weekend.
that identity is weakened.
Ritual.
Now let us come to the ritual. Yeah. See, our rishis were the top the top people when it came to spiritual consciousness, nobody has come anywhere near them, nobody will come anywhere near them. Now that might sound like a chauvinistic argument, it might sound like a arrogant argument. I'm sorry, it is the truth. Nobody will come near the Indian rishis, not in the next 10,000 years. It's not going to happen. We've done it all. We've tried it out all. So if the rishis decided that rituals are an important aspect of the spiritual practice, and you know what is the best part of the properly done ritual? They have codified rituals in such a fantastic manner that even if the person doing it does not understand fully what is going on, the
Beautiful.
result will still be the same. I was recently in Palani and I saw the Ucha Puja, which is the noon puja, which is one of the most fantastic
In Palani,
rituals on the
Sriguru?
planet. And it
Yeah, I know Tamil Nadu.
Palani in
Murugan,
Tamil
yes.
Nadu, it is a Muruga temple. Yeah, Muruga. It is a Muruga temple.
I know,
6
I know.
million people come every
I've been
month.
there when I was a little girl.
Yeah, yeah. So the Ucha Puja in Palani is just one of the most extraordinary rituals ever designed. Now Siddha Bhoganatha probably designed it. He was a, again, another level of. And then I saw that, and I have a very famous video on that. People can go and look it up on
Okay.
Palani temple and the Ucha Puja. And the cascade of Shakti that is released,
Oh, that
and they
happens
do it
every day,
every
is it?
day.
Oh,
Every day Ucha Puja. 12 noon every
wow.
day this thing is done. So those who dismiss rituals have no experience with rituals. Those who experience rituals, they they are
I
too
know.
busy
To be worried
gaining the
about.
benefits of the rituals to be worried about these things. But that is wrong. We need to, because the argument is always about expense, and I'm like, at its root it is a fundamentally atheist argument. When you say that by pouring milk on the shivlingam you are losing, that is an argument, that is an atheist argument, because you don't believe that
Yes.
Shiva is real. If you believe that Shiva was real,
Mm.
then you would give your best to him. If you believe that he is your devta, then you would give your best to him. At its root,
That
there
Shiva
is
doesn't
already
exist.
the kida of atheism in the mind. Yeah, that is why they are saying that this is a waste. And if it is, you're so problematic and so worried about water is being wasted,
Correct.
then stop bathing, no,
No
and
showers, no
help other
bathtubs, no
people to.
spa.
Yeah, all of this is again characterological evil. The way they were attacking Hindu temples a few years
Yes.
back, Hindu
Yes.
practices a few years back.
Yes.
Everything about the Hindu practice is wrong. Yeah,
The
Dahi Andi
the
is wrong, Holi is
Jallikattu.
wrong, Diwali is wrong, Jallikattu is wrong. IIT Kanpur, IIT Kanpur hai ki IIT Kharagpur hai, they submitted a report that
Yes.
firecrackers is number
It was not
15 in
one
the
of.
list of pollutants. But of
Correct.
course, it was not accepted because, scientific evidence is evidence, scientific evidence
Yes.
only if it works against the Hindu cause.
Correct.
Otherwise, it is just an opinion. Yeah. So, we don't understand the forces arrayed against us. And when I try to wake people up, people are too aghast and too shocked, and they're like, "Aise kaise ho sakta hai? No, this is not possible. No, you're exaggerating." And I'm like, I show them the text, I show them the parts in the sacred books which have these blood curdling passages, and this is what they actually think and believe. And then you have all these horrific incidents that happened, and still they are immune to listening. And I mean, what is to be done? I'm like,
Sri
this
Guru,
is
if you could just
suicidal.
give us,
This
this
is
because this
suicidal.
is for the benefit of our viewers who may not be as advanced in their understanding of some of our practices, but are curious nonetheless. Just a couple of
Yeah.
examples, or one or two examples of the benefits of rituals.
Let me give the simplest example.
Yes.
Lighting diya. We all light diya. Yes? Okay. Do you know what lighting diya does? Lighting diya works with the Panchatattvas:
Okay.
earth, water, fire, air, akasha. All five of them are simultaneously activated if with consciousness you light a diya and you have some yogic strength in you, yoga shakti in you, you can immediately see the difference in the atmosphere of a room when you light a diya. Because the diya is usually
Oh,
metal, or it is clay, something that's earth. Then there is the oil or the ghee, which is the water component of
yes.
it. The air is anyways there,
Fire.
and then you light the flame. So every time you light a diya, you are working with the pancha tattvas. Akasha is the transcendent tattva. If you have any shakti in you, if you have any spiritual experience in you, the minute you light a diya, there is a explosion of akasha tattva into your environment. Akasha tattva is the primary materia, the prima materia. All things are created from akasha tattva. So it gives a quality of creativity, and it gives a quality of manifestation. Now I get up, the first thing I do is I light the diya. First thing.
Yeah.
I mean, I have a bath first, of course, but the first thing, the first action I do in the day, the first conscious action I
Yeah.
do in the day is the diya. Because just that simple act of lighting the flame, that when that flame enkindles, if you're in yoga, you begin to understand the importance of fire. You begin to, so you may think
हाँ
that
बस
it
यही
is
तो है
just
हाँ
kya hai, after all it
correct.
is a diya only. Yeah. But if you are doing everything consciously, if you're doing everything with full awareness, similarly, all these things, from my understanding, all pujas have been codified very, very carefully. If you want to worship a particular devta, you need particular ingredient, you need particular flour, you need particular offering of whatever liquid it is.
Yes.
Even the oil is different. You can't even offer, so all these things have been worked out, experimented on, results. So you have to take it on trust for a while until you start experiencing it yourself. You have to believe that I wouldn't lie, our rishis wouldn't lie, the people writing these things wouldn't lie, and they say do the puja in this way, do the ritual in this way, do the chant in this way, because it is a tried and tested methodology. So you have to
Yes.
have that shraddha to begin with. The problem is we have no shraddha at all. Again, because our educational system has taught us to look with suspicion upon all things labeled tradition. All people who are spiritual, oh, they are wasting life. All this is for after retirement. I'm like, after retirement, you won't have
True.
the strength to do any of this. And you're half senile anyway. So, like, so rituals rituals can be understood only with practice. But to practice, you must have, see, this whole thing of rituals are expensive and wasting money is fundamentally
Absolutely.
an atheist argument. It is an atheist argument. So you have to say, no, we believe, for us God is real, but you don't. And it's not like, there was a very famous tantric debate about 1,000 years back, where they debated whether mantra is more powerful or devta was more powerful. And they came to the conclusion that we are not sure if devas exist, but we are very sure that mantras exist because they work. Now, that is the
With
level of
which, yeah.
honesty and integrity that which they function. Like mantra japa is so codified, and fortunately, it is still such a surviving practice that it works very brilliantly. So again, when I hear people say this, I'm like, Nastik.
Correct.
Fundamentally, you're a Nastik. Yeah, and why? Why should you not offer the best to your Devata? The argument that only the cheapest and worst things should be offered to your Devata is such a poverty consciousness argument, and it is such an immoral argument. Why should, in South India, you and I are both South Indians, we had like when we go to the temple, we should wear our best
Yes,
clothes, wear
yes,
silk,
yes.
and like, yeah, yeah, so there is a certain quality of abundance that is associated with spirituality, which has been lost in India because of our history and
I know.
the kind of assaults on us. So now spirituality is like a bhuka nanga fatehal kangal type
Correct.
of practice,
Yes.
and that is wrong. So I push back against that very fiercely,
See,
saying that abundance is vital.
there's also a kind of I don't know if I'm stepping into or opening a Pandora's box, but even among the so-called urban Hindus, there is a
Hmm.
gravitation towards Buddhism, for example. A lot of people are becoming Buddhists because they,
Because Buddhism has not been demonized like
so that's the
Hinduism
thing.
has
So
been
what do you think?
demonized. I've seen that. I've seen that. I used to teach meditation to one very prominent family in Bombay, and they were all Buddhists, but they still wanted to learn. And so I went to one of the, and all the people there were all so happy that they no longer have to be associated with the Hindus, and they don't know the history of Buddhism. They don't know what all Buddhism
Correct.
did or how Buddhism, they don't understand anything, and the sort of subtle
Yes.
condescension and subtle, yeah, again,
Mm.
ignorance. The root of all this is ignorance both of your original religion and the religion you're converting to. Like there was a Tibetan Lama there, and he said something I wish he
Mm-hmm.
hadn't. And he just said there is a story that some people came to Kailasa and they saw Shiva and they saw Buddha, and they asked Shiva, who should we learn from? Should we learn
Mm.
from you or should we learn
Him.
from him? And he said, no, you learn from
Acha.
him only. And so they were using that as an argument, like, the Hinduism is the inferior religion.
Because Shiva
And
himself
I said,
said.
I've also heard that story. Yeah, yeah. I've also heard that story from the Nath Panthis. And in their version of it, Shiva says, you go learn from them because that's all you're fit for.
Good one.
Yeah. So I'm like, why did you have to say
Mm.
that? Why did you have to create this artificial
Supremacy.
schism?
Yeah.
And like, I've never heard any Hindu bash Buddhism or Jainism or something like that unless
Yes.
provoked. But the reverse is not
Because
always.
we
Jains
we
are better at
believe
that.
Buddhism and Jainism to be part of the Hindu family. I think we believe.
Well, I think we have to
Yes.
drop that belief. It's a very comforting belief, but it's not really true. I keep hearing, Jains, of course, Meenakshi Jain, and then the Jain
The
father and
father.
son
Yes.
lawyer duo
Vishnu.
who are fighting
Vishnu.
for us. Yeah, yeah. But like I said, like, yes, of course, it is true that we intermarry and we don't have any we don't have any animus towards each other. But you'll never find a single Jain Acharya say that Jainism is Hinduism.
Correct.
They very distinctively say that they are
Absolutely.
different. So I don't have any problem with that, by the way. I have absolutely no problem with that. Hindus had no problems with Jews because Jews didn't try to
Absolutely.
proselytize. Jews didn't try to, they're also monotheists, but they never
They're
forced all those
the only
beliefs on us and
monotheists
tried
who
to get
don't
us
try to convert, actually.
correct or force their beliefs on others. Or force their beliefs on others. Like they don't do that either by conversion or by violence. So we never had a problem with them. In fact, the first time a Jew was killed in India, it was, in 1800 years they were in India. And that was a Pakistani terrorist who came to Bombay and killed
The
the Jews in the
Taj.
Jewish
Yes.
community. Yeah. Like here is another interesting story. The When the nation of Israel was formed, the first session of parliament, the first resolution they passed was thanks to God because their exile is now over. And after 1000 years, 800 years, they are back in the Holy Land, they're back in their
Yes.
homeland. The second resolution they passed was to thank India for being the only major country not to have
I
anti
didn't know
Semitic
that. I
violence.
didn't know that. Wonderful.
Yes, many people don't know that. They
And
remember.
they've always been with India
They
throughout.
remember. They remember that this was the
Yes.
one country where we were never harassed or goods seized, and like so. Or look at the Parsis; they are so
Absolutely.
different in every ways. But do we have any
No, no.
problem with them? We have problem with basically two religions. Those people
I
know which are those two. Actually, we don't have a
They
problem.
have
They
a
have a
problem.
problem with us. Now it has become
And the
our
moment,
problem.
because now we're pushing back, that has become a problem.
Yeah, because that's not
We're
what we
not
are supposed
supposed
to
to,
do,
yeah.
no? We are supposed to be meek and different. What
Yes.
Swamiji said, no, we must hide
Yes.
our identity. The minute they express any
Yes.
alarm, we must
Yes.
immediately backtrack. And I'm like, those days are over. It's not going to
Absolutely.
happen.
True.
I am very clear when I say I don't want your approval. I don't want to be liked by you. I don't want your approval. I don't need to be admired by you. I don't need you to feel comfortable with me. I need you to be uncomfortable with me. I need you to be disconcerted with me. And many of them
Yeah.
are.
Of course they are.
They kind of
Right.
like, yeah, they kind of like, this is different. Yeah, this is not the usual Hindu
Who's
spiritual guru.
apologetic?
Like yeah,
Sri Guru,
I'm like, yeah.
we were talking about, rituals and practices, which are very, very important and part of our, our tradition. And like I said, there are people who are watching us who may not have a complete understanding of it, nevertheless are interested to know. So, how does
One minute. Why is it the responsibility only of the gurus or the experts to teach? What is the individual Hindu's responsibility to educate himself or herself about their culture? Every time they say that we were not, ठीक है, I understand that. What is your responsibility towards your culture? What is
that's a
your
very good
initiative
question.
about these matters? Yeah. Why are we always blaming only the gurus and the older generation? Now, I agree that the older generation, the last two older generations, my parents' generation and the generation after that, are the most useless generation of
I
Hindu
agree.
parents. Like, because they handed us over hand and bound hand and foot to the
Hmm.
secularists. So their culpability is immense and unforgivable. I'm saying that openly. But why is there this argument that the Hindu individual does not have any responsibility to educate themselves about their culture and their religion? It is an appalling thing. Why are we outsourcing everything to Sarkar and see, even if we wish to, our temples are not free. So our community funds are locked up. We can't set up schools. We can't set up institutions. We can't set up colleges. We don't, where is our community funds? Our community funds are completely stolen. So this is the most important issue in one sense in front of Hindu society, and that is getting the
Yeah,
temples free from the grip
yeah.
of the government. Freeing Hindu temples is the vital. The playing field is not even if we wish to educate people, where? Even if we wish to educate people, where? Even if we wish to hold classes, where? Everything is done in a sporadic manner. Chinmaya Mission has Bala Yoga classes, and like, it's all individual and under resource
Absolutely, and you
constraint.
can count Ramakrishna Mission, Chinmaya Mission, maybe couple of such or what one could call organizations really who have been doing
That is not how we were
yes
organized. Our society was always
around a
around the
temple
temple.
exactly.
That is natural and
Yeah.
organic.
So I would like
That
you
is
to
natural and
reflect a little
organic.
bit on because the idea is to also pull people back into temples. You see, the reason that
Hmm.
today this is an organic problem, Sri Guru. The thing is that it connects to what we said earlier that a lot of the so-called urban Hindus don't think it's important to go to a temple. It's not definitely made obligatory. It's a very voluntary thing. So the bulk of the people who do go to temples are usually from
That is parenting failure.
parents.
Let me be blunt about it. Parenting failure. Fortunately, I'm seeing amongst the younger people, the parents in their 20s and 30s, they are very interested in bringing their children up dharmically. Or maybe those kind of people flock to me so I don't
The
see the
other, yeah.
woketards. Yeah, but they are quite interested, which is the difference. This fixation on career and padhai and, being a good boy and,
Going
all
abroad.
those kind of, yeah, I mean, now, I don't particularly have any problem with anybody going abroad because that was always the norm in India. It was always the norm in India. So I don't have any problem with that. But I do have a problem that we have outsourced our responsibility. The political leader will take care of us. No, he won't. It is the fault of the gurus, it is the fault of this person, that person. All the work is being done at an individual level. Because all of this requires money. If we want to have comprehensive commentaries on the Mahabharata, that takes years of work. The person has to survive while they're doing that. No? And where is that money to come from? The money can come only from the Hindu temple. Only the Hindu temple can set up educational trusts. Only the Hindu temple can set up hospitals. Major reason for conversion is education and
Yeah.
medical bills. So if we can back, if we cannot help our people, we are handicapped in this. So when you say, I also used to feel this, but now I'm beginning to get a little irritated that what is your individual responsibility as a person? I'm beginning to feel that. Why can't you educate yourself? The resources are infinite. You don't even need to get books. You just go on YouTube. Okay, there are idiots on YouTube. There are people, there's one joker called Cyber
Okay.
Zeal. He steals my old videos. Whatever I said in English, he repeats in Hindi.
Seriously?
Seriously. And no matter what anybody tells him, he's completely elephantine hide. He has absolutely no shame in what he's doing. It is pathetically obvious that he has no idea what he's talking about. He can't even pronounce the terms correctly, and he's just become one
So,
sensation. It is a
so has anyone confronted him about? It doesn't matter.
Many people have commented, and but like, and there is this other thing, other big thing. Rajiv Malhotra ji has also spoken about it. We have no problems as a people with
Oh yeah,
plagiarism. People steal other people's content and
happily,
pass it off as their
happily.
own. Yeah, and then they say that we are spreading awareness. How will awareness not be spread if you credit the original?
But then how was the ego
The
then? How do you serve the ego, right?
No, and if you look at the verses, the shlokas, it is very clearly mentioned who composed it
Yes.
every time. So this belief that there is no
No,
name
no,
attached and this is egoic, these are all. If it is egoic, why are you putting it under your
absolutely.
name? So these kind of dishonesties are endemic in our
Very true.
culture, and people don't like to be called out on them. People like to be told, oh, you are inheritors of a glorious culture. Perhaps true, but you're doing nothing to be glorious yourself. You're not even maintaining the glories you have inherited. You are not sustaining it in any ways. Do you know that in Sanskrit alone we have 40 million untranslated manuscripts
I know.
even today,
I mean,
just in
yeah,
Sanskrit? Leave the local
regional
regional
languages. Yeah.
languages. That is the largest knowledge production effort in human history, and we have absolute disdain and contempt for it. This is not a healthy society. I'm sorry to say this, but this is not a society that is sustainable. Again, fruits without roots. A society that disdains its roots does not have any fruits in the future. And we are again, the all symptoms are overdetermined. There is no one reason why anybody falls ill. There are multiple reasons why somebody falls ill, and we are a profoundly ill society. We are a profoundly sick society, and this cannot continue. But fortunately, awakening is happening. It's not
It's
so
not,
bad
yeah,
as it
but
used to be.
but like you said, it
Yeah,
needs to gather momentum and quickly.
that's like a snowball effect. No, there is a point at which the snowball becomes like a big boulder, and then it becomes an avalanche. So there is a tipping point which is not being reached, because please understand that tamas has been the defining characteristic for 400, 500 years. And during this global pandemic, I realized one more thing, that the defining characteristic of our people is
It's
abhinivesha,
what?
clinging to life. Abhinivesha is a yogic concept, one of the barriers to enlightenment, and it is a fear of death. It is a fear of, it is not only a fear of death. Swami Vivekananda famously defined it as an indecent clinging to life. So I realized that a defining characteristic of our people is not yoga and things like that. It is abhinivesha. So that was a big shock to me. What is this level of fear of something inevitable is not a healthy.
It's not a healthy.
It's not a healthy. Yeah, it's not a healthy way to live. So yeah, I mean, lack of awareness is unbelievable, and it is more ironic because we invented Atma Vichara, and
No one spends any time on it. No, no, it's a big problem. And it's a
it's
problem even among the so-called, I'm sorry to say this, but I also find it a problem among the so-called spiritually inclined. I find that at some point the ego takes over, and then I think
Yes.
the original motivation or the original intent is somewhere lost. And I think this is a problem among Indians who perceive themselves as being spiritually elevated, or ordinary people. I'm not even talking about the gurus. I mean, even among family members, I see there are a lot of people. You know how in the South everybody is into listening to this thing, pravarchanas and all of that.
Self
Yeah,
congratulation. We have an immense amount of
but
self
there's so little
congratulation,
self
and
awareness.
these are all
It's very sad.
these are all symptoms of a very ancient society. You see, these are all signs of old age. So we need a rejuvenation.
So,
I accept that, and we have another problem, which is a very big problem, that we don't really trust our gods. Our gods, our devtas, are not primary for us. We One of the disastrous cultural norms that we developed is Vyakti Puja,
mm,
where we started prioritizing savior
leaders.
figures. Yeah. No, not just leaders, saviors in any field. Vyakti Puja has become one of the banes, one of the great curses of, you must never ever make a human being, no matter how great, more important than the devas. And we have done that repeatedly. And then there is ego investment. If a person has been useful to you for some time, you don't see them through to the end. Now when they have turned rancid or they have turned dangerous, you don't keep, because of your ego investment. Sunk cost fallacy hai wo,
Mm.
that I have been with this person for
So
20 years now, how can I turn? Now, is the person of any benefit to Hindu society, Hindu Samaj at all?
mm,
We have all these arguments about there is no alternative, this, that, and the other. And my answer to that is, if your limb turns gangrenous, you don't say that it is better to have a gangrenous limb than no limb at all. You cut it off,
yes.
then you see
Now
now
what
what
can I do?
options
How
do I
can I live
have.
without a limb?
Yeah, otherwise the thing will poison your body completely. Yeah, and so again, this lack of clarity in thought, this lack of uh, self reflection, self awareness. स्वयंबोध तो जीरो से भी कम है. I don't know what the स्वयंबोध का तो कुछ भी नहीं है, but this Vyakti Puja is
Big
definitely a
issue.
big issue. It is a massive issue, and it is across all
Yes.
domains. It is not a political issue or a spiritual issue. In the spiritual and the political issue, of course, it causes the maximum damage. Then we hear scandals. Like somebody has been elevated into some godlike stature, and then they turn out to be human after all. If you understood they were human right from
Yes.
the beginning, I have okay, this is humble bragging, but I'll say it. I have told my disciples, I have given them an order, that if a point comes when I have obviously become senile and I'm no longer making sense, you are all free to
How
oppose me.
sweet.
You are all free to leave me. Yeah. I have given that in advance, because it is the body. You cannot say what will happen to the body. It might decay, it might become, so like I might be the only guru in human history to have given that adesh to my disciples, that you have to leave me when you see I've become gaga.
Oh my. Okay, Sriguru, I want a couple of,
Yeah.
I want you to speak on a couple of things. We're running out of time, so I
Yeah.
want to rein in the conversation a little bit. Um, could you
Yeah.
speak on Arunachalam? Because I have watched a video of yours. Yeah, because
Arunachala,
it is
Arunachala. Aruna Achala.
Arunachala.
Aruna
Hmm.
means red. Aruna means red. Achala means immobile. The red immobile. It is like a fire. The thing is like solidified fire. Now, Arunachala is a hill in Tamil Nadu, in Tiruvannamalai, this thing. And it is, the Agnilingam temple is also there. In Tamil Nadu, they have the 5 Tattva Lingams, Earth, Water, Fire, Air, Akasha. The Agnilingam temple is there. Arunachala is traditionally supposed to be the spot where consciousness dawned on the planet. Now, Arunachala is ancient beyond belief. Kailasa is only 70 million years old. Arunachala was supposed to be 400 million
Wow.
years old. But recently they found that the real number is closer to 2 billion.
Unbelievable.
So it was a very tall and big mountain, and over time it got eroded and became the little hill that we see today. So all I can say about it is that it is for a certain kind of yoga, not tantric methods so much, but for the sattvic Vedic methods, for a certain kind of yoga, especially for Vedantis, that spot provides unparalleled help because it stills your mind. Yoga chitta vritti nirodha, yoga is a cessation of the fluctuations of the mind stuff. And the core practice is pradakshina of the
Yes.
mountain, which is called
Beautiful.
Girivalam. So I do that regularly. I do that all the time. Girivalam grinds away your karmic patterns, grinds away your karmic load, and stabilizes your mind. Your mind keeps jumping and it stops. So Arunachala, in the tradition, in the southern tradition, it is held that there is always a siddha in residence, either in physical body or in ethereal body, but there is always a master, a great master in residence. So the hill, Ramana Maharishi used to very famously say that Kailasa is Shiva Nivasam, that's where he lives, but Arunachala is Shiva himself.
Wow.
Yeah, ಅದು ಶಿವ ನಿವಾಸ, ಇದು ಶಿವ, like so. So so again, I have 2-3 videos
Yes.
on Arunachala for those who want to see it. But Arunachala is an experience that everybody should have, just in terms of what is packed in there. At a spiritual terms, what is packed in there. You see, India is very fortunate. If you look at the map of India, it is like a grid held in place by 4 great spiritual mountains. Kailasa in the north, if we consider Bharatvarsha, Kailasa in the north, the Kamakhya, the Nilagiri hills in the east, Arunachala in the south, and Girnar
You
in the
mentioned Girnar
west.
also in here.
So, yeah, so it's like a grid. And the sacred, the Kshetram of Bharatvarsha is held in
Grid.
that grid, is held in that diamond. So Arunachala is the
Oh.
oldest. Arunachala is by far
Oh.
the oldest, by far. Nothing can match the ancientness of Arunachala. And today, unfortunately, it has become too popular. Like too many people from all over
And
the world, everywhere
come.
come. But those are inevitable. Decay is inevitable in everything. But the core cannot be corrupted. Also, our population, you see, the mountain has been encroached very badly by the population, and it's
Is
pretty
it?
bad.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, it's been encroached. People have built their houses on the side, and it's pretty bad. They dump garbage on the side. It's very, very sad to see that. So, like if you see pictures from 1940 taken from the hill of the temple, there is wide, spacious. The approach to the temple is completely flat and open, and today there is not even 1 inch
Oh, sad.
left. Everything is built up. What do you do with the population? So it's inevitable. There should be at least a 50 meters around
Yes.
every major temple, which should
Free.
be free. But the population pressure and then the consequent political reasons and all that. So right up to the wall of the temple, we have shops and people, which
That's
is just
happened in
absurd.
Srisailam too,
But to
Sri Guru.
it
Yeah.
happens everywhere, and the main reason is we have too
Yeah.
many people. The main reason is we have too many people. 1.4 billion is an
Absurd.
absurd
Yeah.
number, and an optimal population for India, all of India, is 400 million. We have 1 billion more. The British would not allow colonialists to come and settle in India. They wouldn't allow settlers in India, saying it is overpopulated.
Then.
And then, yeah, they wouldn't allow settling in India, saying it is overpopulated, because they had a notion of a standard of life, no, that you need this much land for each
Absolutely.
individual. And so there is that problem is there. But if you I go every year with my disciples, and we spend 3-4 days under the shadow of Arunachala. I do my annual retreat there. So there are other secret spaces also. In the past, I would very enthusiastically communicate about all of them, but when I see what popularity does, now I'm keeping quiet. I'm like, I don't want those places to become known, and because then genuine yogis get
Yes,
irritated and
yes.
go away. And then the Shakti of
Loses,
the
yes.
Kshetram falls. And Arunachala has a Kshetram. This field of energy of Arunachala extends to 30 miles. So it is just mind boggling. It is just literally beyond belief. Now, you may believe, you may not believe. I don't have time to waste on those who don't believe, because once it catches you, there is no hope for you. Once Arunachala enters, I know a case of an American who just lived a normal life, became a corporate executive, and the hill started entering his dreams and calling to him, come to me, you need to come to me. And then he went on Google and started searching for hills, and finally he saw that there's a, so it is that conscious, it is that level of, now you may say, okay, this is just hearsay. I don't care. I know the person, I know what happened to him when he came here. So I have now become, like, again, at this stage in my life, after all that I have experienced in yoga, I have no time to convince you. If you don't believe, you don't believe. If you think I am deluded, or you think even worse that I am lying, that is your problem, not my problem. I know I am a hyper rational person. I am a hyper rational, hyper logical person, but there are things in the world which are not amenable to logic
Yes.
and reason. They are transcendent of logic and reason. And this is one other thing I keep saying, that we should accept that our religion is an occult and mystical religion. And we should very proudly embrace that aspect of it. We try to explain away our religion, and we try to make everything sound
Oh, yeah.
logical and
This
reasonable and
very scientific
scientific.
reason.
What the hell? Yeah, what the hell is this? And I'm like, you're explaining your religion into extinction. You are explaining away your religion into extinction. The occult and the mystical can be experienced, it cannot be explained. And people don't understand. And this was just basic stuff across all pagan cultures. But the problem with all pagan and heathen cultures is we are trying our best to be monotheists. No?
Totally.
Yeah, so this won't do. This won't do. So thankfully, there are people who are listening to people like me, people like Rashri. So there is a whole
That is
pushback
true.
happening. There is a whole reverence for tradition and sacred space and ancient practices, which is reviving, not as much as could be happening. So look at the irony of this. We have to speak in this Macaulay imposed
Yes.
language. It's very tragic. It's very tragic. And for me, I can speak 4 languages. I can watch 4 other languages without subtitles. But anytime I need to do subtle thinking or deep thinking, it has to be in this ancient, in
Yes. Yeah.
this corrupted
Yes.
language.
Unfortunate, isn't it?
So it's too late for me now to learn, but I keep urging people to teach Sanskrit, teach Tamil, learn early on, learn the classical languages early on, because the quality of your thought
Absolutely.
becomes
And
different.
I mean,
So
people,
to
in fact, for you speak of it as if it were an unfortunate fact. A lot of people are very proud of it. I
mm,
mean, a lot of people will say, I don't think in Telugu, like, or if it's Telugu, or if I only think in English, so it's kind of become like, again, what we
yeah,
harking back to what
it's you become handicapped and you don't even know that you're
exactly.
handicapped.
So,
Like you're like a blind person discoursing on color, like congenitally blind person discoursing
correct.
on color. I Until my spiritual awakening, I was not dismissive, but I was more like a cultural Hindu than a spiritual Hindu. I was more interested in the cultural aspects more than, but once the awakening happened, and I began to see that these places are raw with Shakti.
So,
Yes.
because we're running out of time, I would
You,
like you to, before
yeah.
we end, if you could give us, if you're
Mm,
allowed to, share one or
mm.
two really defining mystical moments that I think our viewers will really benefit. listening about?
There are so many. There are so many. Like the first time I saw Ucha Puja at Palani, the noon puja at Palani, it just exploded my consciousness in the first time I entered Chidambaram temple, and I knew every inch of that place because it's a lifetime of connection. My father's village, the Shivlingam there was bought from Chidambaram
Oh,
by a character from the Ramayana. Khara, Khara
Kharadosh. Yeah,
Dushana,
yeah, yeah,
Ravana's
yeah.
cousins. He bought the Shivlingam and placed it over there. That is what the Sthala Purana
Oh,
says. So I'm a Malayali. Malayalis generally have no connection with
correct,
Chidambaram.
correct.
But the minute I entered Chidambaram, it was like I was coming home, and it was an extraordinary experience. The first time I saw Arunachala, and the first time, not the first time, the second and the third time I did Girivalam at Arunachala. And
What about Girnar?
then
You've
there are
spoken about
certain.
Girnar a couple of
Girnar is a Nathpanthi place. It is a very
times.
hard, tough, unforgiving. It's a it's a
Mm.
challenge. It's like, oh, so you think you're hot stuff? We'll see. You know, and then if you don't surrender completely to the will of the mountain, it will defeat you.
Mm.
So it is a spiritual challenge, which always happens. I recommend everybody when they are still healthy because it's
Oh, is
murder.
it?
Girnar is
I've been
murder.
wanting to
Yeah,
go ever since I watched your video, Sri Guru.
yeah, yeah. It's murder, but it is essentially it is a spiritual challenge, and it essentially it knocks all the arrogance out of you. If you think you're some hot stuff spiritually, Girnar shows you very soon you are only this much. You don't really count. So Girnar is, of course, I haven't been to Kailasa. I will perhaps one day if Nataraja wills. Another thing I want to mention is that this is again something that I came to the realization later on in life. We have become so deracinated. Good
Mm.
word. It's an
Yes.
important word. We assume that all forms are the same, all devtas are the same, which is a completely non-Hindu. So if somebody says I'm a Shiva Bhakta, that is not enough. Which form of Shiva?
Mm.
Dakshinamurti,
Mm.
Nataraja, Bhairava.
Mm.
Yeah, which form? Then secondly, which
Which
temple?
temple?
The devta of which temple? So for me it is very specific. When I began, you may remember I said Om Shiva Chitambram. Yeah, because for me, the Devta in Chidambaram, while he is of course Shiva, he is very specific and unique. And by the way, he was the Kulanayaka of the Cholas.
Hmm.
Yeah, so the Cholas, that was their home temple,
Wow.
literally. They would build all these grand temples at Tanjavur, Gangaikonda,
But
Cholapuram, but their
it's still
Kuladaivam
Nataraja.
was Chidambaram
Right.
Nataraja. Yeah, and he gave them an overseas empire, the only overseas empire in Indian history. So you must develop, as a Hindu, you must develop a relationship with a
Mm.
devata. You must trust the devata unreservedly. And now I'm not talking about cultural Hindus, and those people bore me. Those people who say that they are cultural Hindus, because they're atheists, and an atheist in the end will be an enemy.
Absolutely.
So I get very I will take the help you give, but I will also regard you with a lot of
Mm.
suspicion. So I mean, a practicing Hindu, you must have a relationship with a devata, and it must, if possible, it must be a devata of a specific temple.
Mm.
Then real value
Mm.
happens. Until I found, and he made me wonder a lot. Chidambaram Nataraja made me wonder a lot. And I'm a Malayali. Nataraja is not a Malayali form. It is nothing but that there was a
Mm.
connection from my father's
Some
bloodline, and
past
so
life
the
connection.
karma, yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
Rina, pure and simple Rina. Because once I went into Chidambaram, I'm like, okay, that's it, I'm home. I'll go to every other temple on the planet. Wherever I find something interesting, I'll go and I benefit. But in the end, the source of my whatever I have done in life or achieved in life, whatever influence I have, it is all the blessing of Chidambaram Nataraja. I accept that totally. I I feel ashamed that I don't have the capacity to take everything that he can give. because these kshetrams, these ancient places, are set up in such a way that they have such enormous shakti only if you have the capacity to take it in, hold it,
Mm.
digest it. And most of us don't. If you did, then you would be Agastya, you would be Patanjali, you would be you would be Siddha or something like that. Most of us don't. But the personal relationship with the devta, the personal relationship with the temple, then you support that specific temple instead of vaguely giving here, there, everywhere.
Mm.
Give to that specific temple, give to the pujaris there, support the puja, support the festivals, develop that personal relationship. That becomes very important. What we have done now with our urban education is we have this impersonal relationship with our religion,
Mm.
where it is just like a all the devtas are the same, all
Yeah,
the
God is
religions are the
everywhere.
same. Like God is everywhere. Then like then in your toilet you should become enlightened. No?
True.
Why does that not happen? Or you should go and meditate in the garbage heap. No, since God is everywhere.
True.
So these are all low IQ statements. And again, they originate from deliberate viciousness. They originate from educators who deliberately put these memes into the heads of trusting youngsters, because they know that this will end up destroying the faith, this will end up destroying the belief, this will end up
Yeah.
destroying. So, we have to push back, we have to call all these things out very harshly. We have an unfortunate tendency to want to be liked. I think get used to being disliked. Anyways, they dislike you. Anyways, they hate you. So, what is this thing of trying to win their popularity and trying to win their approval? To hell with that. I can use much harsher language, but I said I wouldn't. So, I'm restraining myself. I don't want to be liked. I'm very clear about it. I don't want to be liked. I don't want to be approved of. I don't want to be praised for being so inclusive and accommodating.
Mm.
No. My terms or no other terms. And I am very clear that this is my identity. These are my non negotiables. And thanks be to God, lot of young people my generation is as good
Gone.
as lost. I'm almost 60 now, I'm 59. My generation is generally useless. But the younger people are all becoming
Yes.
gung ho, because for the first time they are seeing somebody from their parents'
Mm.
generation who's speaking
So,
up so
oh, yes.
proudly. Here is something significant. It's something I'm very sorry that again and again I hear the same thing from Hindus, not from India. That is to say, people who are not ethnically Indian, but they are Hindus. We wish more gurus, more Hindu gurus were like you, Sri Guru. You are so unapologetic. You are so proud of your culture. You're so assertive about your religion. We wish more Hindu gurus were like you. They're all the time apologizing and explaining
Yeah.
away. And when I hear that, it is, of course, a personal compliment to me, but it is a horrible thing to
Mm.
hear. What do you mean? Why are you not standing up for your religion and asserting why your religion is
Yes.
valuable? So I hear this all the time, but from the younger people, I of course hear, you save me from being woke, you save me from being one of those idiots who works against his own religion. So that gives me immense joy. Whenever I hear a young person say that you brought me back, you made me into a confident and self-assertive Hindu, then I feel like, okay, my life has not been faltu,
Mm.
because I am very hard on myself and I feel I haven't done anything that I could have done or should have done. But whenever I hear these young people assert themselves like that and be very proud of their Hindu identity, I'm like, okay, so it's not all, because Swami Chinmayananda was one of my mentors when I was a young boy. I mean, I didn't regard him, I just liked him very much, so I would go and meet him. And he once made a statement that when he went to America, they asked him, Swamiji, are you here to convert Americans to Hinduism? And he immediately flashed back, I would be very happy if I could convert Hindus to Hinduism.
How true. How
so
true.
so that has settled into my mind, and without my knowing it,
Yes.
it was like a transmission, and that has become my job, converting Hindus to Hinduism. Like it has literally become my job, converting Hindus to Hinduism. So I'm like, okay, I'm doing the best I can. I'm not saying it always works, but it works
Mm.
surprisingly well because they're all looking just for
Yeah.
one person. And also, I tend to be a little unusual in that I'm very well informed about the
Yes.
world, about
Yes.
world history,
Yes.
world culture. So they're like, oh, it is not a
Yes.
gawar,
It's not
this
somebody
is not
from,
like a dehati
yeah.
person. Yeah, it's not a dehati villager type person. This is a very erudite,
Yeah.
well-rounded person who knows a lot, and he's still so proud. So that you see, we need
We need
examples.
examples. Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
we also to be honest, we have an attractiveness problem on our side. you know,
Absolutely.
our people are not cool.
No, no, I agree. I agree.
We
We're
don't
not
have.
cool. We're not cool
Yeah,
enough.
yeah, we are not cool. We need people who tend to be so. I'm very particular that I don't give off that poverty
Yes.
consciousness vibe. I don't give off that, like we have too much of these, that is a spirituality equals poverty, and that is a catastrophic
Mm.
mistake because one of the purusharthas is
Yes.
artha. No? So, where did this mindset
Mm.
come in? It is completely wrong. And then, of course, people are that he is not a sannyasi. I'm like, yes, but that does not mean that one cannot be a
Mm.
yogi.
In fact, we've had a
Again, this
tradition
whole
of
yeah,
grihasthas who have been the most.
correct. Well, I'm neither a grihastha nor a
With-
sannyasi, so I'm a Trishanku
between.
Sargam like that. So, but I do the best. And like I said, unfortunately, I got this very narrow vocation, the urban English educated Hindu converting them into traditional Hindu, or,
Yes.
like, okay, I mean, I have to do the
Somebody's got
best
to
with
do the
my
job,
limitations.
so I guess fine.
Somebody has got to do the job. It's my limitation because, English is a
Yeah.
problem. So my communication is limited to English. My powerful
Mm.
communication, my time pass communication, other languages will do, but my powerful communication is limited. And this conversation I couldn't have in my mother tongue,
How
Malayalam.
and how sad is that, right?
Exactly, exactly. That is a
It is.
catastrophe.
And that should change
That
for the
is a
next generation,
catastrophe.
is what I think.
I keep urging everybody that make sure that your kids know the mother tongue, make sure that your kids know Sanskrit, they know the classical languages, make sure that the kids are, so don't make the mistakes that I did, or, the mistakes that
Previous
my
generation.
parents' generation did, because, they were all trying to, I don't blame them completely, they were trying to get us a better
Yes.
deal in life, because of the, I'm old now. I mean, I remember the kind of abject poverty of India when I was a
Yes.
small child. So to break out of that, whatever little advantage you could get was an
Encouraged.
important
Yeah.
advantage. And then there was this whole prestige factor associated with English, which now I do a lot to shut down because that is a very
It is.
vicious
It is.
mindset.
But it still
Yeah.
exists, Sri
So I
Guru.
do
It's a very strongly embedded.
massively,
Yeah.
massively, massively, massively,
So,
massively. But again, we do the
yeah.
best we can, and the rest is Nataraja Kripa. Like, to me, everything is Nataraja Kripa. If he wants it to succeed, it will succeed. If not, it won't succeed. I'll do what I think is right. When I think it is no longer right, I turn the switch off.
Yes.
So I have no emotional attachment to what I do,
Yes.
which is pretty rare. Most people expect me to be invested in what I do, and I'm not invested at all in that. That comes from years and years and years and years of meditation. So I can detach very easily from what I do. When I do it with
Mm.
full energy and passion, but then I detach from it very easily. So people expect you to be stuck where you were 1 decade back. Sorry, I'm evolving all the time. I'm not going to fulfill your expectations. I answer only to Natarajan and to my own conscience, not to anybody else, no matter what you may think of that. Which sounds arrogant, and it is, I would say, a little arrogant, but it is who I am, and I cannot be anything other than I am. So I hope it will
I do hope
benefit
so.
people.
I'm sure it
I
will.
hope, yeah, I hope,
So I'll bring the conversation to a close here. I want to thank
yeah,
you, Rohit, Sri Guruji, for being with us today. And I've been wanting to do this talk for a very long time. If you recall, I approached you a couple of months ago, and
I was going through
Yes.
some stuff in my sadhana, so I could not engage in
understand.
public. That was the only reason. Otherwise, when you told me, I was leaping with joy. Like Citti Media wants me on.
No,
Wonderful.
it's our privilege to have
Yeah.
you on our show with us. And
Thank you so much for inviting me and giving me the chance to sound off. I'm coming back to
yes,
social media, so people will be inflicted with me a lot, I'm afraid.
I would direct our viewers to Sri Guru's channel and his amazing videos on YouTube, which are very, very illuminating because he speaks on a wide range of topics which are spiritually connected, but on issues which others don't usually dwell on, and he brings very unique perspectives and insights to these topics. So I would really encourage those who are watching to watch his videos, and and we wish you all the very best, Sri Guru, on your future endeavor. You do want to come back to YouTube with your channels, with your episodes on different subjects.
It'll be across multiple platforms. I'm not going to be the prisoner of
Oh,
any
one
one
platform.
platform.
Wonderful. Wonderful.
So yeah, it'll be across
Nice.
multiple
We need
platforms.
that.
But YouTube is primary. Yeah,
Yes.
YouTube
Yes.
is primary because
So
yeah. So thank you so much
thank you
for
so much.
inviting me. I had a grand time. I hope the viewers will
I'm
also have
sure
a
they
grand
will.
time, and I hope they take what I say
Yes.
seriously.
Yes.
Yeah, do hope that this has provided value. Sarvam Shivamaya.
And Dhanyavad Sri Guru, and namaskar to everyone who's watching. Please subscribe, like, share, and please come back to watch more of the content on Citti Media. Thank you so much.
Please remember to subscribe to us and switch on the notifications for this channel. For our other social media links, more content, and to support our work, please visit citti.net. Dhanyavad. Namaskar.